Hey, just a heads up that the following content may be disturbing or triggering for some listeners and is not appropriate for children. Please take care of yourself and others who may be listening with you. Welcome to the Bonus Babies Podcast, a show that has no easy answers, only hard questions.
I thought that I had really built this trusting relationship, and I have come to realize that I definitely have at this point, but it took far longer than I ever assumed it would. And I think you just have to be consistent. The consistency is the big thing, because most of our kiddos that are abused and neglected only know that they will consistently be let down. And so to be that person who says, I will call you back, and then actually be the person who calls back is huge for these kids. So that, and just being willing to hear what their needs are. You know, I think it's so hard to imagine having to tell someone you don't really know that you need bigger clothes or new glasses, like just basic needs that we kind of take for granted.
Can you tell me what you call the kids who you've cared for over the years?
We feel that the children that we receive coming into our home are bonuses. So we call them bonus babies.
I love that. This is your host, Jayne Amelia Larson, and I'm a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate volunteer for youth in foster care. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful. In the same way a CASA works, I explore all things in the foster care maze by talking to kids, parents, caregivers, attorneys, social workers, therapists, really anybody and everybody who will speak to me to keep the conversation open and the information flowing about all things CASA.
Hi there, this is Jake Eberly, the producer of the Bonus Babies podcast, and today Jayne Amelia speaks with Traci Gurley-Tomashosky. Traci joined the CASA of the 9th team in March 2021 as the executive director. Previously, Traci was an early childhood special educator and preschool director for 10 years. She's proud to work for the children in Colorado's 9th Judicial District and looks forward to seeing how CASA of the 9th will grow to better serve the needs of children. And she has a huge part in that. Here's Traci Gurley-Tomashosky.
Hey, I'm here with Traci Gurley-Tomashosky. No, let me say it right one more time.
You did. You said it right.
I said it right. Yay. Hi. Thanks so much for making the time to do this.
Absolutely.
So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where are you, first of all? I know you're not in Los Angeles. You're not in New York. Where are you?
We are in western Colorado, so near Aspen in the valley, the Roaring Fork Valley that leads to Aspen. So Glenwood Springs is where our organization is located.
Right. So is it fancy there? Because everybody thinks of Aspen adjacent as fancy. Is it?
No. No,
Okay.
It's not. I mean, it is in some respects, I suppose, but the wealth tends to stay in Aspen and be centrally located in Aspen. Glenwood Springs is still pretty rustic. It's a mountain town. Yeah, most of the people that our organization actually serves are in western Garfield County and Rio Blanco County, which are much more rural and remote.
Right. So tell me about your role, because you're with CASA of the 9th. So what do you do there?
I'm the executive director of CASA of the
Woo-hoo!
9th. Yeah. It sounds far more glamorous than it is, but
Okay. Yeah.
I am, how do you say that? Jack of all trades, but master of none. So
I suspect you're being modest, but that's okay. That's fine.
I manage everything from HR, hiring, making sure we have all of the health insurance and everything that our staff needs, to managing our staff. I also manage all of the finances and the board connections and liaison with the community. And then I also do fundraising, grant writing, and just, the fiscal side of things. So I've always enjoyed a challenge, and that is exactly what I have.
Wow, I'll say. And you're also a CASA. So
Correct.
Okay, so how long have you been a CASA?
For a year. When I took this position, I did the training and I learned all about what it means to be a CASA. It's one thing to have knowledge, it's another thing to practice with that knowledge. And so it's been super rewarding and good for me to have my own kid, my own CASA kid that I advocate for. And the case was relatively sensitive. I was the third CASA on the case. And really, as an organization, we felt like we needed to put someone on the case who could be more reliable and just support this child as they will likely age out of the system. So just to be consistent.
Yeah. So this kid he's on his third, or she or he is on the third CASA. Is that unusual?
Yes.
I see. Yeah. Because ideally you want one CASA that stays with the child as long as the child needs the CASA, right?
Correct. And we used to say, I laugh about this now because I see it in writing sometimes when I'm editing things, that we would tell our CASA volunteers that it would be, a commitment of 12 to 24 months with an average of 18 months. And COVID changed everything.
Totally.
And yeah. So our case time, since I have been at CASA now almost 4 years, our shortest case has been 24 months. So we've had cases 5 years plus, and that's not unusual anymore. And that's where this case is sitting that I am a CASA on. And it's just been really rewarding to see the other side, the advocacy side, work with our judicial partners, work within DHS, and just really understand from the inside out what it requires to be a CASA. And again, mine is a high touch case. There are some cases that aren't as involved as the one that I'm a part of, but it's super rewarding. And I'm really glad that I've had the opportunity for the experience.
Right. So when you say high touch, what does that mean?
So the child that I am an advocate for does not have a reunification plan with a parent, and therefore really is kind of an island on their own, floating, no anchor, no family to really look forward to reunifying with. So I spend a lot of time on the phone and talking and visiting with my CASA kiddo because they need that.
Yeah, they really need the connection and the consistency. So is your kiddo close to you, or is it one of those 2-hour drives happens there?
It used to be closer, but we've had some ups and downs in the case and needed to change placements a couple of times. And currently the CASA kiddo that I serve is in Colorado Springs. So that's like a 4-hour drive.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So that's why you're on the phone so much too, I guess.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And it's great because the facilities, I get to know them pretty well, and they're doing the best that they can. But they really do accommodate us with video calls as well as they can. So.
Okay. So the kiddo's not in a resource home, but in a group home or a therapeutic facility?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of has moved around within all of those different settings.
Your kids had a tough time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really hard. Yep.
Yeah, and how hard was it for you to develop a rapport with your kiddo, since there's been a few other CASAs and maybe a couple social workers and lots of different homes?
Yeah.
How has that worked?
I think that it's so interesting to answer that question now, a year and a half in, because I thought I had a rapport with her, and I thought that I had really built this trusting relationship. And I have come to realize that I definitely have at this point, but it took far longer than I ever assumed it would. And I think you just have to be consistent. The consistency is the big thing, because most of our kiddos that are abused and neglected only know that they will consistently be let down.
That's right.
So to be that person who says, I will call you back, and then actually be the person who calls back is huge for these kids. So that, and just being willing to hear what their needs are. I think it's so hard to imagine having to tell someone you don't really know that you need bigger clothes or new glasses, like just basic needs that we kind of take for granted that our parents always kind of took care of, or parents generally take care of.
Right, because they observed it. They could see you don't fit your pants anymore, or your shoes hurt you. This parent says, oh, it's time to take you to the store, right?
Precisely.
And with these kids, especially if they're living in a group home, it's just the bare minimum of attention, I would imagine. I mean, each home is different, but that's probably what's going on here.
Yeah, it's really hard to watch. I believe, and I know that I run CASA of the Ninth in this way, that we always do what's best for kids. And we're part of a solution rather than just piling on and adding more pain and more hardship for these kiddos. So it looks different on every case. It looks different for every kid. But the bottom line is we want to make sure that they have what they need and that they have a voice in their court proceedings.
Right, so when you first came to CASA the Ninth, and there you are, did you start as the executive director, or did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, I mean, gosh, I can't imagine what a big job, since you wear so many hats. Okay, so there you are. What drew you to that in the first place? How did you land on that?
It's so interesting because as we have grown and my staff has grown, one thing that we all hold in common is a lived experience of some kind.
I see. So that's true for you?
Yeah. And I think, different extremes, different people have experienced different things. But just developing that empathetic knowledge of what it feels like to be a helpless person drew me. Mm-hmm. Knowing that, I can do something. I can step up and stand up for these kids. And so it's interesting. Like I said, all of our staff also comes to the table with their own special, unique understanding of what that means to be an advocate and to be a helpless child.
When I'm speaking to guests, I almost always ask about their own upbringing and their family of origin. I didn't do that with you, and
Sure.
Now it's come up on its own. So what was your childhood like? Did you have an intact family? Did you?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I did. I think the best way to describe my childhood, I grew up in a very rural area, a farm community. And I think I grew up on the tail end of we have children because we need more help on the farm. We need more help to get by. And I grew up in a time where that people weren't having children for that reason anymore, necessarily, So it was on the cusp of being needed for labor and needed to be part of the survival of the family. And then also being wanted, just a wanted child. And so it was confusing. To put it, because I had friends who were very doted on and very much wanted, and were seen as these, the gems of their parents' eyes. And I had friends who were clearly born because they needed more help on the farm. And so it was confusing. But ultimately, I believe, and I've spent a lot of time working on understanding my family dynamics, understanding where my parents came from, understanding even who I am, and that I have my own litany of personality differences, right, that complicate things. And I've come to a place, we as a family have come to a place where we're moving forward. And I think that that's the best I could hope for, honestly.
So as you're talking to me about this, you're being very careful about your language, but I know there's a lot of pain behind it. I mean, I can see it in your face, and probably people can hear it in your voice. And it's fascinating to me that we think that we're the only ones that go through something. Mm-hmm. And then it turns out, no, everybody is going through something. Mm-hmm. And absolutely. I don't think I've ever heard of that before, where somebody expressed that they were needed as part of a team to support the growth of a family, as opposed to being in love and wanted as an individual before they ever arrived on the scene.
Right. So I have one other sibling, and we were both born as very wanted children. And I think there was just the opposite had happened to my parents. They were born out of necessity. And so it was easy for them to slip back into that. And it was easy to look at a situation and be like, no, you don't get to be a kid right now. You have to be a team player, and you have to figure out how to do whatever this adult task is, or carry a burden that was more of an adult burden to carry. Yeah, I mean, Jayne, honestly, like self-awareness and therapy are the only thing that I think save most of us. And what is the quote? We adulthood is learning to get over your childhood.
Your childhood, right?
And I don't feel like in any way, shape, or form I have come into being who I am as an adult and that the world owes me anything or that I was wronged. But what I do know is that we hurt each other. That's what people do. Yeah. And so how can we be part of that solution? And what is best for kids? How can we make things better? And so that's really where I come from as a leader and as a CASA.
Right. So do you have your own family now? Do you have your own kids?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I have a 7-year-old son, and the higher power of the universe gave me the best spouse I could have ever hoped for. And I'm just, we have a wonderful life. It's so funny because I've reflected on this and watching my CASA kiddo struggle. And really, the question I ask her is, what do you want your life to look like in 10 years, in 10 months, in 10 weeks, in 10 days? Let's focus on the silver linings and let's find our next olive branch out there in the world and really work for it and find ways to get there. And it just dawned on me this last fall. I am truly content.
Oh, how wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people who
cool
can say
thing.
that. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, is there more to want for in life? Always. But I have a job that gives me great satisfaction. I'm volunteering doing something with a child that makes me feel important and useful. I have a wonderful marriage and a 7-year-old who's happy, healthy, and thriving. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So has your CASA training, has it made you a better parent, you think?
Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Prior to coming into CASA, I was in education for 10 years. And I got out of education just as I was having my child. And I look back on my days as a teacher and I kind of giggle because I didn't know. I didn't know what it meant to be a parent, yet I was advising parents on a regular basis as an educator. And so, yeah, the value of experience is huge. And I would say the same for being a CASA.
Yeah, so are there enough CASAs in your organization?
No.
Do you need more? Yeah, they all need more.
Yeah, and I think I struggle with this because it's not just I need more. We can throw all the spaghetti at the wall, but what we really need is this very specific type of person who has a level of self-awareness and can be involved in a child's life and be a helpful part of a child's life. These kids are hard. Some of them are really hard. They've gone through a lot. They've, their innocence has been taken from them in many instances, and yet they're so needy and so immature in other ways. So it's a delicate balance to find the right person. So largely what we have done at CASA of the Ninth is focus on how do we keep these people?
How do you keep the CASAs? You mean the ones that are good, because there's burnout, everybody knows.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And that's where, summer of 2022, I was still pretty new to the job. And we essentially watched a DHS program in another county explode and implode. And so when people were calling, no one was answering, but CASA was answering the phone. They could get a hold of CASA. And so we had two parents on 2 separate cases pass away for a myriad of reasons, but drugs were involved and also suicide. So essentially what that told me was these folks lost hope. They had lost their ability to believe that they were going to even be given a fair chance to get their children back. And that was probably, that's synthesizing it down to one thing, but I think it was something that impacted both of those individuals. And so when no one was answering the phones and these children needed to be informed that their parents had passed on, it came down to CASAs. Our CASAs were the ones who were there for those kids and delivered that news and bore the brunt of that just trauma that they weren't expecting to have. CASA training doesn't prepare you for that. You're not supposed to be in that role. And yet here we were. So what do we do? And CASA stepped up and we paid for their therapy, but then we started looking around and realizing other programs were losing CASAs at an alarming rate. And what can we do? Like we genuinely cannot keep patching the boat. We have to find a solution that has a long-term effect. And so in the February of 2023, we decided to launch Care for the Caregivers.
I love this. I love this. Okay, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask you. So let's hear about this.
Yeah, so we work in conjunction with our partners at Lead with Love. One of their founder, Gina Murdoch, is also on our board of directors, and she is a huge proponent for CASA and child advocacy. And I just sat down with her and our board of directors and a few community partners who had a vested interest in making sure that our caregivers were not burning out. And we concocted Care for the Caregivers. And I feel like I'm so bad at naming things. So it's kind of a silly name, but that's the name that we have. And
no, it's totally works. Like you get the meaning right away in the name, and that's so it works for sure.
So we've really focused on smaller retreats at this point, usually around 20 to 30 people, and the nomination form lives on the Lead with Love website, and they manage that for us, and that largely gives us the information that we need to prioritize who really needs to be at these retreats. And so we've pretty much been full house every single retreat, and we opened it up beyond CASA, so we're serving other community partners who work in child welfare, and then other community caregivers. If you have an ailing parent and you're their primary caregiver, if you're a young mom and you're a primary caregiver, whoever you are, whatever your role in our society, if you're caregiving and you are feeling that you could benefit from this, or someone nominates you because they feel like you could benefit from it, we're more than happy to have you come to our retreats. So we just had one in January, and we'll have another one in March. And our next one in May is going to look completely different because we're partnering with another nonprofit here in our area to do some PTSD and animal therapy, which will be really cool.
What with like wolves or horses or what?
Horses and goats.
Horses and goats. Wow.
Yes, and they have bunnies.
And bunnies.
So and they have worked directly with veterans and lots of EMS towards resolving PTSD, And so we feel like it's a really unique partnership, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm excited about that.
So your idea here is that if you take care of the caregiver can take care of others better.
Correct. Absolutely. You nailed it.
And it's so true, because we know that in our own lives, that they even talk about this on the airplane. Put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on your child. This is kind of what we're talking about, right?
Correct, 100%. And it is the one thing that as caregivers, we are not good at doing.
No, I know. I think that's really true. People who are drawn to this work have a tendency to put others first.
Correct.
And yet the best ones don't do that.
They don't, and they won't admit that they need it. So we're working really hard right now with our staff that puts on these retreats to align them with continuing education credits, so that those caregivers who can't admit that maybe they're burning out and they could use this retreat have another reason to say, you know what, I need CEUs anyway, so I'm going to sign up and go pet some bunnies today and do a little yoga.
So are you including a lot of different people? Is it?
Yes.
What's not clear to me is it's not just for CASAs. It's for all kinds of caregivers.
Yes, ma'am.
Or so it could be for foster parents.
Absolutely, we've had
absolutely right.
We've had foster parents.
Mm-hmm.
We've had daycare providers.
Yeah, that's hard work too.
Close their daycares and bring their staff. And for us, we don't necessarily need all of the details of what kind of caregiving you do. If you have or someone on your behalf has taken the time to fill out a nomination form, there's probably some benefit here for you. And we're going to find a way to include you in a retreat when we can. So.
Yeah, really, especially if somebody who cares about you suggests that you do it, they're probably right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And have you also participated in this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
It was really funny because the very first retreat we had, I was like, we surveyed people beforehand and then we surveyed them at the end. And mine was the lowest, like floor had dropped out. Like I remember crying at this retreat because I just so overwhelmed with everything that was going on in the world. And of course, the world's even changed since then, and not necessarily for the better. And at the end, I filled out my survey. Anyway, I was kind of the poster child for the caregiver who didn't know that they needed to be there, but really needed to be there.
But really needed to be there. Mm-hmm. So, and has it lasted for you? Is it something that you've been able to use and continue to tap into?
I love that question because I just used it, actually. I was visiting my CASA kiddo and just kind of really confronted with the harshness of the situation. I hadn't seen her in person for a while, and I just had a huge, wow, things are really dark right now, and this is a really hard time. And she needed a few things, so I'd gone to Walmart, and I just stood in the middle of an aisle holding onto my shopping cart and realized I was having a full-blown panic attack, like anxiety attack right then and there. And I brought back some of my strategies that I've learned through our retreats, and I pulled myself back together versus just abandoning the whole thing and going and crying in my car. And I found my way through that moment. It's moment to moment sometimes, and you have to let that be. And accept that the next moment will come, and it might be better, it might be worse, but we're going to keep using these strategies and we'll get through it. And so that's, largely where.
Yeah. And you talked about self-awareness, and that's part of it, right? Mm-hmm. To be able to recognize I'm in trouble right now, and I need to figure out how to take care of myself. Even when it surprises you, like when you're just in the middle of Walmart or.
Right.
Yeah. I remember there was an experience not too long ago with my CASA kiddo. We went to see a movie, and I thought it was going to be just a movie, we're going to watch a fun movie. But something happened for her, and she cried the whole way home. And I remember I could barely drive. I mean, I was just like, and she kept on saying, I have no home. I have no home. I have no home. Yeah, it was just awful. And I'm very lucky. She has a great wraparound team. So I quickly got them involved, and they're trained therapists, and they're really good at what they do. And I felt good that I knew that she was being taken care of in that regard. But I'm like you. Afterward, I was like, I could barely drive home.
Right.
And I haven't really talked about it with anybody, once or twice, and now with you. And there's a doggy in the background, but it's okay. He said, "It's okay, Janie."
Well, it's so funny because her name is Penelope Jayne, and I spell it exactly.
Penelope Jayne?
Yes.
That's a good name.
She's all of 9 pounds of venom. Gonna take the world by.
Oh, wonderful. Good.
Oh no, she's lovely, but
Yeah. No, that's great. So so just to go back, so I realize as I'm talking to you that I need to deal with that stuff because it doesn't go away. It comes out in different ways later, whether it's hurt or pain or in behaviors.
Right.
The more self-aware you are, the more you can heal yourself and help to do good for other people. That's it. That's the bottom line.
That's exactly right. And I think it doesn't help us to stay in our silo. And, you don't attend these retreats to pat yourself on the back. That's not why anyone is there. Of course, look around the room and you realize, wow, these are some incredible people who do some incredible caregiving and really support our community. But that's not why anyone does what they do. And that's one thing I've always said about a CASA advocate is they're not in it for the pat on the back or the kudos or an award, or, they're the CASA volunteers who are truly invested in advocating for children are just diamonds. I don't know how else to describe them. Like, they're genuinely there to help.
Yeah, and I think that most people, even involved on the case, they don't know how much the CASA is doing behind the scenes either.
No, they don't.
And that's fine, but
I think our advocates have a pretty good idea. And I will say that's one thing that is exclusive to our program. I'm sure it's not exclusive to every CASA program, but for us is we have high-touch advocate supervisors who spend a lot of time with our advocates and helping them write their court reports, review their court reports, go over situations, scenarios, and help them make decisions for advocating for their kiddos. But not everyone has that luxury, especially larger programs, I think. Sometimes you're just operating from a mode of triage and throwing the warm body at the problem and hoping that it's the best thing you could do. So
yeah, this goes back to what you were saying before, that if you're just patching holes in the boat instead of building a better boat, then you're not really fixing anything.
Yeah.
But we're all kind of just patching holes like all the time.
All the time. But I don't believe that fully, Jayne. I don't. Because when you're putting good into the world, even if it isn't a permanent fix, you're still putting good into the world. And that energy matters. That positivity matters. Even if it's minor, even if it seems... It's like I worked with one judge, and she would always find the silver lining for a family. Like, oh, well, you didn't make any of your supervised visitations, but you went to every drug test this month. You didn't pass one of them, but you went to all of them. And I'm very proud of you. And like taking that little token of whatever good we can and magnifying that, letting that positivity be the thing that we put into the world and we put the value on.
So when you began to work for CASA and then you saw what CASAs were doing, and I believe you said before that you're really glad you did because you're seeing it from both sides now. What made you decide I'm going to train and become a CASA? What was that leap like? With everything else you have to do in your life, plus a kid, plus a husband, plus your own life, right? And your 20 hats at work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can't possibly be a voice for these children advocates if I don't understand what they're doing. And I need to know how we're training them. I need to know what we're saying to them and how we are bringing them into the fold so that I can really understand when there are conflicts, how I can support our advocates. And also like just the legality behind being an officer of the court and what that means. And I also, I was new. I had staff that was conducting these trainings, and I needed to know what that felt like. Like, how are they training people? What do they sound like? What are they saying? How are they portraying CASA to CASA advocates? And so it was largely just, it felt like something I had to do. Becoming a CASA, actually taking a case, that was something I didn't have to do. And was something that I honestly, no other case would have I taken but this one. It just,
why is that?
So
Because
sensitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I needed to be able to be in a place where I could really offer that advocacy and that support for this child. And very rarely do we talk about anything beyond what is surface. But the other day, she wanted to know, you're good, right? Like, you're not going anywhere. And I said, oh, like I was like, of course, obviously, I thought you knew that, right? Like, but I realized, yeah, she probably has never heard me say that out loud. And I said to her, I'll be at your wedding day. I'll be at your graduation. I'm going to be in your life. And that wasn't something I could have guaranteed when I started at CASA. But now that I have been here long enough and I know what the job requires and I know specifically what this case requires, I can say that. I can say that to her, and I know that that's true.
That's a pretty powerful thing for her to hear,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. Which was closely followed up with, why can't you just adopt me?
Yeah, I know. That comes next.
I
I
was like,
know.
oh, I know. That's really complicated. So complicated. Even I can't really fully articulate all of the ways to answer that question. So.
So if I'm sure you do this already, but I'm just curious, if you are recruiting more CASAs, what's your pitch?
It has changed. Well, I try to highlight the relationship aspect first, and the fact that we get to be in a pretty unique and special position in children's lives. And for some of these kids, you are exclusively the only person who will stand up for them and advocate for them. And so I try to highlight that before I get into some of the nitty-gritty details of how long a case might last. I like to always bring up our Care for the Caregivers programming and let them know that, we have highly dedicated staff that's there to support them, and that also it's voluntarily a position that you take. And of course, we can't decide for you, and you're not a bad person if you can't do it. Being a CASA is a heavy lift. Just coming to our training is a lot. So we've had folks who've made it through the entire training, and at the end of it, we turn around and we realize that this isn't the right place for you.
That happens.
Yeah. And then I have CASAs that, if they're earning stars in heaven, may they have an entire universe unto themselves, because the gold in their hearts, I call them my diamonds. Like, honestly, I just can't even tell you how important they are to what we do.
Yeah, I have to say, all the CASAs who I've met and who I've interviewed, I'm constantly wowed.
Yeah.
I can't believe they do what they do. And actually, really, most of them have much harder cases than mine. Mine is very difficult, but nothing like some of the people who I know. It's just the amount of, and we're not even talking about time. We're talking about attention and the forensics, figuring everything out, and then trying to make the right decision and actually hear the kid and figure out, is this right for the kid?
Yeah.
And what do I ask for the kid?
Well, and then I think we're up against a really slow system that doesn't have the answers.
No, it's just like a dinosaur, and the kids are waiting.
Absolutely.
waiting.
Well, and it's a system that doesn't, like I said, it's not necessarily solution-based. It's solution-based if you fit this criterion, and X, Y, and Z matches your case and matches your situation. But that's not life. And that's not these kids' situation. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But I mean, I can't even advocate for all the things I want for my kiddo, because it's outside of the realm of what the system can actually do.
And even when you advocate for something, I've been trying to get my kiddo a math tutor since last year. The judge granted it.
Right.
And DCFS has somehow not found one yet. I mean, it's like months and months and months later. And I'm like, what is going on? What's the problem?
Jayne, that's what my advocate supervisors spend a lot of their time doing, is taking those niche little requests that we've actually gotten approved and saying, okay, well, then I'm going to find that tutor. I'm going to find that therapist. I'm going to find that group home that will better serve this child. So they end up doing a lot of research and extra legwork that I think our human services departments, our child welfare workers, don't necessarily have the bandwidth to handle.
Yeah, I think that's true across the country.
Yeah, but we can bemoan that fact and we can whine about it all day, but it doesn't change the situation for the kids. So let's rubber meet the road and figure out a solution. And that's really my mindset on it.
Yeah, and in case with my kiddo, she's moved schools, and there's going to be a tutor at the school where there wasn't before. So she hasn't gotten one from DCFS yet, but she's going to get one at school.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank goodness, But
right.
That took a lot of time. It also was a result of her saying to me again, you promised me a tutor and I still don't have one. And I said, yeah, you're right. Gosh. And so she's holding me accountable, which is kind of great.
Oh, it's so awesome. That's one thing that I've been really pleased about with my CASA kiddo is she has boy, does she have a spirit. Like she will remember those details and she will come back to them. And, one thing that we talk about a lot was it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. And you're right. I don't
It's
know.
not fair.
I don't know how much fairness has to do with much of life anymore. But I do know that we're trying to make it better. So
I love that. I love that you're doing it. I can tell you're probably a really great CASA.
I don't know, but I feel inferior a lot. Like, I don't know why I'm there, especially when you're talking to like therapists and people who have like a really broad understanding for child development and psychological development. I'm always like, ooh, that's...
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I need to take some classes, right?
I do not know what you're talking about, but I do know what's right and I do know what feels wrong. And doing nothing is definitely not tenable for me. So.
I want to ask you one last thing that I ask all my guests, and that is, what is the one thing that no one would ever know about you unless you told them?
Gosh, no one would ever guess. That's a really tricky question. I think one thing that's happened for me, I told you I feel very content in my life, but one thing that I never knew I would want or have the capacity for, the patience for, or I just didn't see it fitting into my world at all, was my puppy. I have big dogs. I've always had big dogs. We had farm dogs. Like, I finally kind of told my husband around my birthday in the summer that I think I want a puppy. I don't know why, but I really feel like that's something I want. And it's the first time I've really been kind of selfish about it. Like, I want this for me.
I want this for me, only for me.
Yep. And boy, did I get it. Like, she's just sitting here looking up at me right now. Like, I adore
Penelope
you.
Jayne.
Yes, Penelope Jayne. And I didn't realize I was missing that. I didn't realize that another creature could show such devotion to you, could carry so much hope for you. Like, and I really feel like she was a gift to myself in a way, because I pushed for my puppy.
So actually, this was something you didn't even know about yourself.
I didn't know. And it's so funny because my husband, even, he'll look at her and he'll say, I can't imagine not having her now. Like, I just didn't know that we were missing this little creature who had this capacity for such loyalty and such love. Yeah. I don't know.
Thank you so much for talking to me today. I've never heard anybody answer the question like that. And I've had over 100 guests, I want to say.
Really?
Nobody answered a question about what they were hiding from themselves.
Giving myself permission to let something else just love me. No other reason, no, like, I don't know that I deserve it, but letting this little creature into my life has shown me that I was missing that. So I'm glad I gave myself permission to have a puppy.
I'm really glad you did too. And I'm really glad you spoke to me today. You're really quite a special woman, and thank you for your work.
Oh, I so appreciate your time too, Jayne. I know you've spoke with one of our CASAs previously, and one of my diamonds.
Oh, I would bet he's a diamond. Yeah.
He approached me years before he actually was able to become a CASA about wanting to know more about the program, wanting to know more about what we did.
Yeah, he saw the sign in a building or something, right? Yeah.
And he came in and he had such a serious conversation about what kind of devotion it would require to be a CASA. So when he finally was like, I'm ready, I want to do the training, I was like, this is going to be so amazing. And the case that he's on right now, he couldn't have been a better fit for. I think, we put the good into the world and hopefully the good comes back. And that is an absolute scenario where that happened. We got the right person for the right case, for the right kids, and just feel really blessed about that.
Yeah, that's pretty special. He's pretty special. He's going to be the episode before you. We're talking about Greg Rosenmerkel. We call him Rosie. He's really a special guy.
He is, and he will tell you that our Care for the Caregivers program is probably not the first thing he's interested in doing. So
I know. Maybe we'll make him
Well,
do
no,
it.
so because of him, I've been inspired to look at other ways that we can find this same release that yoga, mindfulness, meditation, breath work can do for people. So
It'll be a bike ride for him, or like
we're
lifting
looking
weights,
at,
or
yeah,
right, or
we're
like a
looking
20-mile run.
fly fishing.
Fly fishing. Very good.
Yeah, adding some fly fishing into our retreats and some hiking, and just really trying to look around and be a little bit more open-minded to what does fill our buckets a little
I
bit.
think it's great
So,
how creative you are. You're really thorough, but also you're exploratory, and that's got to be so valuable.
I love learning new things.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I do too.
And I love talking to people who have interesting things to say, which is to say I've really appreciated your conversation today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, you take care, my dear.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Traci, for taking the time to join us today and for taking the time to be a CASA, helping kids who are in need of someone who can speak for them, particularly in their younger years. And launching Care for the Caregiver will only increase that support. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more from Bonus Babies. Thank you, and be well. If you see something, say something. If you suspect a child's health or safety is jeopardized in any way by parents or anyone else, contact the Child Protective Services Agency in your county. 24-hour hotlines are staffed by trained social workers who will help you through the process, and you can do so anonymously. In California, you can call the Child Protection Hotline at 800-540-4000. So if you see something, say something. You might be saving a child's life. If you want to know more about becoming a CASA anywhere in the country, go to nationalcasagal.org, and in LA, casala.org. And if you want to know more about becoming a foster parent, check out the National Foster Parent Association at nfponline.org. There's also faithfosterfamilies.org and adoptuskids.org. There's tons of other information online as well, so you can just hunt around. We also want to thank the supremely talented Christina Apostolopoulos for her beautiful original music. You can find her music on Spotify or Instagram at Christina Aposta. And also thank you to Yukon Har for his engineering. Thanks for listening, and if you like what you hear and you find it as valuable as we do, please rate us and hit subscribe. You can also make a donation at bonusbabies.org. See you next time.